Today we are going to do collographs. And collographs is a type of printmaking where you use found objects and a hard surface and you glue them together to make a print. So what happens is we started with the mono printing, and that was you just added ink to a flat surface, right? You could make all different patterns, all different designs. This is one of my examples, okay? With collographs, I have some materials that are located and labeled on the counter over there, okay? Some of these are already pre-cut and ready to go. As I run out, I'll refill for you. This is about the size I want you to work on. This is called additive, where I'm taking a flat surface and I'm adding materials to the top of it to create the design or the pattern or the picture or whatever we're going to call it, okay? This is one that I had done before, and I'm going to use that because there's a couple steps I have to explain to you before we actually are able to print it. So to start, I'm going to get my flat board. I'm going to make sure my name's on it so that I don't get it lost. Then I'm going to find objects around the classroom that I can attach to my board. They need to be kind of low so that they don't poke holes in your paper when you finally go to print them. Okay? So I have some of these tongue depressors, popsicle sticks, and I can arrange them in a way that makes a design. Maybe I'm going to just use all popsicle sticks on this one because I like how it looks. Maybe I'll go this way. If you need to cut them, a scissors usually gets through it, or like an X-Acto blade could cut through it as well. Okay? So I'm going to organize that. Once I have my plan in place, I am going to get Elmer's glue and I'm going to glue them down. So this is one that I did last hour. I need a little bit more glue. I found some plastic caps. I will put some more supplies over there, otherwise those are located in a plastic, like it's a big drawer with found plastic recycled objects in it. And then I also used pipe cleaners. So I created a design, okay? Once they are glued down, the next step is to put this material over it, and you paint over it like you would paint anything else. This is called gloss medium. So it protects the surface of all the objects so they don't start falling off when you're printing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay? So this takes a couple days to do. So if you come up with your idea and you've checked it out with me because you're conferencing with me, you're gonna make it and then you're gonna let it dry. And if it's not too messy or gluey, it can go right in your drawer to dry. Does that make sense? So no one damages it. It might fall through on the drying rack because it's on the small side, okay? Once that's dry, you're gonna put this on, you're gonna let it dry again. After it's completely dry, that is when you get to start printing with it. So that's why I have this one here. So this one had all the layers on it. I've printed it a couple times. It was supposed to be inspired by Van Gogh's Starry Night. So I have a tree. I cut my popsicle stick into smaller pieces to create the branches. And then I use string to make the swirling lines. So similar to the pipe cleaner, but I have plenty of string I can get out as well. Okay? So this is one of the prints that I did the first time with it. Okay? So prints like that. So when you go to do this, this is one of those things where you can use colored construction paper, or you can make your own design with the mono printing paper. Okay? You can do any colors you want. This gets painted the same way the mono printing block does. You can use acrylic or tempera paint on it. So I'm going to start with my brush wet again so that my paint is kind of ready to go. And I'm going to start with yellow. So I'm going to paint yellow all over the surface. I for sure want to make sure I'm getting the objects or the parts that kind of pop off, because those are for sure going to touch my paper. Once I have it completely covered, I can go back and kind of fill in some of the areas so that they leave some textures as well when I go to print it. Okay? This might require a little bit more paint than I normally allow you to take, and that's okay. All right, so once I have it covered, I'm going to get my paper. I'm going to use this one because the yellow will hopefully create some contrast and will stand off with this dark background. So once I do this, it's kind of like with all the printmaking we do. We lay it on the surface and then we don't move it. So once it's there, you keep it in place. Use one hand to hold it in place. and then you use your hands and you can feel the texture below that you've created. I'm gonna make sure you can kind of check. Ooh, this paint didn't show up very well. That's not as good. I probably needed more yellow paint. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there's something I learned, all right? Now, I've got this red paint. So because I ran out of yellow, I'm gonna kind of add the red to the surface. We'll see what happens. So you can do a couple different colors on here, but once the paint gets on here, it's not coming off. You can't wash it off, okay? Because this is paper and it would damage the block. And so this is kind of like the relief printmaking where you get to keep this forever and ever. So hopefully this will print a little bit better. Let's see what I have. We'll do it on this yellow. Again, for contrast. I don't know that the red would show up as well on this, so I'm picking one that it will. Laying it down, and I'm, whoops. There we go. The red printed much better. You can see that this allows you to create layers as well. Okay, now one thing I also want you to think about is that when you are done with this, this could be considered part of your art project. You could let it dry and then go in with paint and paint it exactly how you want it to be. And you could display this and turn it in. Here's a better one. I could turn this in and this in to get a grade or to display it like that. Does that make sense? So you kind of have an actual object that you can keep as well as a picture or an image. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Emily.